was going on in the world when you enlisted?
9/11 had just happened. We had just done the invasion in Iraq. I was nervous and scared. I grew up, my dad was a Marine in Vietnam. My grandpa was in the Navy, had a bunch of uncles in the Army, so I grew up playing war, and since I was real little, and I knew that eventually I was going to get there, I just didn't know when.
Would you say they inspired you to serve?
Mm-hmm.
Across generations, these brave men and women of Lea County have answered the call to serve in the United States Armed Forces. They left their homes, their families, and their community to defend something greater than themselves. Their courage carried them through uncertainty. Their commitment carried them through sacrifice. And their service helped secure the freedoms we enjoy today. The Lea County Heroes Program exists to honor these men and women, to recognize their service, to preserve their stories, and ensure their sacrifices are never forgotten.
What should people call you during this interview?
Either JW or Grady.
Okay. What year were you born?
1982.
Where did you grow up?
Abernathy, Texas.
What were your parents like?
They were pretty strict. My dad was a cop. My mom was a lunch lady at the school.
What lessons did they teach you growing up?
Well, teach you your manners and how to do the right thing, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. It's as long as you're doing what's right and can stand by it.
Did you have brothers or sisters?
Mm-hmm. I did. At the time, I had 2 older brothers that lived in Fort Worth area, and then I had my sister that lived with us there. She was younger.
Did you have teachers or mentors who influenced you?
I think once I went back, because I quit high school a couple of times, because to me work was more important back then, and I got convinced to go back to school, and the teacher that was there to help me graduate was probably the best one.
And who were your heroes when you were young?
John Wayne and my dad.
Did you ever imagine you would end up serving in the military?
Yeah, I had originally was signing up for the Marines, and I didn't graduate, so I didn't get to go, and that kind of ruined that. But whenever I got finally went back and got my diploma, then I was there for it.
And how old were you when you joined?
20.
And what made you decide to join the military?
My wife got pregnant, and so I knew we had medical benefits, and I could get money for college for her whenever she graduated, and for my kid whenever she graduated and everything. Something stable other than manual labor.
Right. Take us back to that moment. What was going through your mind?
For me, I was on a time clock because I had to get boot camp done, and I had to get my infantry school done because I was trying to get home before my baby was born. So I had already told the recruiter, like, if a spot opens, send me today. And I think it was 3 weeks from when I signed up when I left. And so it was very fast, and when I got there, I got business to do. I got to get it done, and the fear of the unknown, I guess.
Where did you go for basic training?
San Diego.
What was your very first day like?
Very long. Well, the first day of boot camp is 36 hours, that you have to stay awake, sign papers, do medical, get clothing, do all the things. And that's not including when you leave MEPS at 4 o'clock in the morning and then spend all day in an airport and on a plane, and then you get to the airport and then the bus for boot camp comes and picks you up at midnight, and then it's 36 hours.
Long day.
It's a long day.
What shocked you the most about military life?
I wasn't really shocked about it. It kind of brought me out of my shell more than anything, because I wasn't a very loud person, and that forces you to be loud and very assertive.
Was there a moment where you thought to yourself, like, what did I get myself into?
Black Friday, when you get introduced to your drill instructors.
What was the toughest part of the training?
Probably being away from home more than anything, but, because once you start getting used to the chaos, then it was just an everyday thing. I can't remember the name of it, the Crucible was pretty tough when it came to mental and physical stuff, because you're staying awake for a couple of days and you get like 1.5 MREs, and then it's a whole lot of physical activity. So.
What was your job in the military?
Originally, I was a tow gunner. So it's I guess the official name is 0352. It's a anti-tank assault man, and it's basically like being a tank sniper. So you have a big system that you can either carry around or you put on a Humvee, or I think in the Army they got them on Bradleys and stuff. But it's a 70-pound missile that's tube-launched, optically tracked, wired command link guided missile system.
Could you explain your role in a way a high school student today could understand?
Yeah, so it was like being a tank sniper. Our whole job was, my unit was a CAT scout, or a tow scout platoon, and so we would have machine guns and grenade launchers on our Humvees, and then we would have a tow gun on one, and you run into four trucks where you would go and scout out enemy tanks or armor, and it was your job to hide and shoot a missile and blow it up.
And what did a normal day look like for you?
During training, you get up early and you PT, and then shower, get something to eat, and then you went to class and learned you had to memorize all the armor from all the different countries, so you could know that it was enemy armor versus United States armor or Allied armor.
And what about after training?
I ended up being a reservist for a long time, and so I came back home and got a real job and went to my weekends a month and did all the training, continued training until we deployed.
And what skills did you learn that stayed with you for life?
There's a lot that you learn from the military, and a lot of it's discipline, all the way down to making your bed every morning and having a routine. You do a lot of room clearing, do a lot of PT activities, things like that, your bearing. There's a lot of different things that you get from it.
And what rank did you reach?
I was a corporal when I got out.
How long did you serve?
I was active for 6 years and inactive for 2.
What places in the world did the military take you?
Ireland, Germany, Kuwait, Iraq, Israel, and then different states in the United States.
What was the most beautiful place you saw while serving?
Jerusalem.
Was that your favorite?
Mm-hmm.
What was the most surprising place you visited?
Iraq.
And why is that?
It was hot. It was just different. It's a whole different culture, and it's culture shock.
Did meeting people from other cultures change your perspective on the world?
I think it did. It makes you keep an open mind because everybody has a different lifestyle and a different culture and a different way of thinking and beliefs.
Was there a moment that you thought, I never would have seen this place if it wasn't for the military?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Were you ever deployed to a combat zone?
Yes. I was in Iraq.
What was it like when you first arrived?
Very hot.
What were your responsibilities during deployment?
We guarded Camp Fallujah and pump houses along the Euphrates.
What did a typical day look like during that time?
We would normally try to keep to about 12-hour shifts, and so we would show up, go to work, a lot of guard duty. We would run QRF missions and patrols. We would run like security patrols on the main highway that went by and the overpasses, and you'd get done with your 12 hours and go back. We were staying in terrace barracks, so we figured out a way to get air conditioning and bought TVs and all kinds of stuff.
And what was the most difficult moment that you experienced?
In the military, I think that goes back to just not being at home when you got wife and kids waiting on you, just being apart. I mean, the rest of it's just doing your job.
And what kept you going during the most hardest days?
We had the internet cafe back then and a phone station where we could call home, and pictures of my baby and things like that, getting to read letters.
How did the people around you support each other?
With a lot of hate and discontent. I guess the Marine Corps is a little different, military in general, but you spend every moment of your day with those people, and they're closer than family, so it's how you get support.
And did you ever feel afraid?
Oh yeah.
What helped you push through those moments?
Being afraid.
People often say the friendships in the military are different from anywhere else. Did you experience that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How so?
Like I said, those guys are closer than family because they sweat with you, they bleed with you, they go through all the good times, hard times, and everything else. And when you get out, it gets a little lonely, but then you see those folks from time to time, and you just pick up right where you left off, talking trash to each other. So,
do you still stay in contact with any of them?
mm-hmm.
What made those friendships so strong?
So a team is built in the fires of adversity, and the military and war is very much adversity.
Is there someone you served with who made a big impact on your life?
Yes. We had a Sergeant Hernandez, we nicknamed him Sergeant Rage, but he was definitely an influence.
What was it like the day you came home?
It was pretty nice. I mean, it was, they give you a parade, and the motorcycle cops escort you where you're going, and once you get done with your 30-day cool-off period and all that stuff, then you get to go out and go watch the movies and do all that things.
And what was the hardest part about adjusting to the civilian life?
I didn't really have that big of a transition since with being a reservist, because I was already in civilian life doing a full-time job and doing that with it.
And what was something back home that people didn't understand about what you experienced?
Probably the order of things. If you're on time, you're late. You're 15 minutes early, you're on time type thing. You get road rage a lot. Get road rage in the supermarket pushing the basket.
And what path did your life take after leaving the military?
I got into law enforcement.
What kind of work did you do after service?
I got into law enforcement and did nuclear security.
Did your military experience help shape the person you became?
Yes.
When you think back on military service, what are you most proud of?
Probably the guys that I served with more than anything, because, you know, we had a good team together.
And what lessons from the military still guide your life today?
And it goes back to having that orderly stuff, you know, to make your bed and, you know, set goals and do what you have to do to reach them, be on time, be respectful, stand tall.
If you could talk to your younger self before you joined the military, what would you tell them?
Quit being stupid and finish high school the first time so you can go when I was supposed to go.
What do you wish young people today understood about the military service?
I think that kids today are pushed so hard into going to college and doing all those things and getting into debt right out of high school before you even learn any life experience. And I think the military is a great a way to get life experience and grow up, because you still go out, you still have fun, and you get paid to do it. And then you get all the benefits that pay for your college, so you don't have to take out the loans. So when you do come to that point of being out of the military and getting your college done, you've had life structure, you've had life events and experience, and then you get your education, and now you can go forth with your family and job and careers and everything else.
And what do you wish people knew about veterans that they often misunderstand?
I think one of the biggest things that I see is, normally if you're talking to a veteran and you ask a question, they give it to you directly whether you like it or not. And I think that comes from the military, and that's you know, be truthful in everything that you say and be ready to get punched in the mouth when you say it.
What advice would you give to a young person considering joining the military?
Do it. Going back to what I said a while ago, that's a great way to start your life.
And what values from your generation do you think are important for younger generations to carry forward?
I think you're going back, you know, just back to the honesty and integrity and being a hard worker. You know, that's do a fair day's work for a fair day's wage, and don't be entitled to anything, because ain't nobody going to give it to you.
What does being a veteran mean to you personally?
I think it's a great honor to be able to say that I am one.
And how did serving your country change your life?
It opened your eyes to something bigger than yourself, to serving something bigger than yourself.
If your grandchildren or future generations watch this interview someday, what would you want them to remember?
Hopefully they would use it as motivation to go join the military.
We understand your father was a well-known law enforcement officer in Texas. Could you tell us a little about who he was and what he meant to you growing up?
Yeah, he joined the Marines when he was 16, and then deployed, went to Vietnam. He was a machine gunner. Ended up coming out. I think he was a sniper instructor at some point. Was an MP. He did a little bit of everything while he was in. When he got out, he went to work for different places. Went to work at 4-6's Ranch for a while, and then became a cop in 1977. And I grew up with listening to the Scanners and all their stuff, you know, and he was chief of police in a couple different places, and retired the day that he died when he signed his papers.
What are some of your earliest memories of your father and his work in law enforcement?
You know, a lot of it, when he was on day shift, he had a routine of getting up and at 4 o'clock in the morning going to work, and then he was back at 6:30 in the morning by the time we were getting up to get ready to go to school. And I'd wake up to him reading the paper, eating Cheerios, you know, or sleeping in his chair. I remember people coming and knocking on the door and answering it, them asking for him and getting him, and then him coming up and hearing those guys apologize for the way they acted the day before and everything else. I mean, we grew up in small towns. I grew up in small towns. That's where we lived, and so it was really neat. I mean, because small town cop is everybody knows you, and so if you make a mistake, everybody knows you made a mistake, or whatever the deal is. But it was pretty neat watching people. I remember that a couple of times, people coming over and knocking on the door and apologizing for the way they acted and thanking them for taking them to jail and all this other stuff. And watching them get calls and half dressed running out of the house to go help. And he used to wake me up when the storms would come through, and we'd go storm watching, looking for tornadoes, because they'd send the police department, the fire department out to cloud watch. And so we'd sit out there and in the rain and look for tornadoes to land, different things like that.
And did watching him serve the community influence the kind of man you wanted to become?
Mm-hmm.
In what ways?
You know, I don't know if when you're younger and you're looking at this stuff, you're looking at it as serving your community or serving the country. You look at it as high-speed chases and fights, and I want to go fast and turn the lights on and throw people in jail and do stuff like that. And then I think that just kind of comes with it after you get there and actually see the impact that you're making, is where it turns into serving the community and doing all that.
And were there lessons that your father taught you that stayed with you throughout your life?
Yeah, you know, I was raised the way I guess him being in the military and law enforcement, so I feel like that's just been my life. You know, I grew up in it and continued in it, so to me I don't know if I could pick out just specific life lessons. This is the way it is.
Because you've always been around like law enforcement, military. Are there any memories with your father before you left for the military that stand out to you today?
Yeah. You know, it was really weird because, you know, he didn't talk about Vietnam and all that stuff. Didn't really talk about the military. We had the life lessons, you know, of what to do, what not to do. But I think when I became a Marine and came home, he opened up a little bit more and talked about things. And the day that I left for Iraq, we were all on base, and you have a family day before you leave, so your family comes. I got promoted to Lance Corporal that day. It's a big E3. And whenever they came out and said, you know, we're done, thanks for coming, and we had to go get all of our stuff to get ready to go, I shook his hand, gave him a hug, and I said, well, I guess I'll see you later or whatnot. And he was like, well, if you don't make it back, then I'll see you in hell. I said, I thought they said the saying was Marines guard the streets of heaven. That's a song we sing. It was like, yeah, well, they lied to you like your recruiter. And I was like, Roger that.
Would you say that made you guys closer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When you left the military, how did you decide to go into law enforcement?
I kind of stumbled into it. When I started off at the Lea County Sheriff's Office, and I worked in the jail, and I I couldn't make ends meet, and I had, a wife and kids, so I was working at the jail from 2 to 11 every day, and then I'd get off and go to work at United Supermarkets and stock shelves till 8 in the morning, and then come home and sleep for 4 hours and go back to work. I got an article one day for Urenco down here to work nuclear security or whatever they called it, and it was double the pay. So I put in and got hired on, and I was down here for a couple of years doing that, and I was bored, and I guess I put in for Texas DPS and Seminole PD and was working through the hiring process, and a buddy of mine said, well, why don't you try getting on with Hobbs? And I didn't lose anything in New Mexico. I'm already here, and he goes, yeah, but you'll be tired of writing tickets for DPS here pretty quick, and Hobbs has everything. So I put in and got hired, and went from there. For me, I was tired of garden dirt, so to speak, and felt like I hadn't accomplished anything in life yet, so I needed to get out and find something to do.
And do you think your father's legacy played a role in that decision?
Yeah.
What was it like putting on a badge for the first time?
You get a sense of pride and a lot of responsibility. It's heavy.
What skills from the military helped you the most in policing?
A lot of room clearing and tactics and that type of thought process, because it works for me on the streets, and then it worked when I got on the SWAT team, so it fed into all that.
You spent many years on the SWAT team. What drew you to that role?
I got into that by accident. A buddy of mine that I went to the academy with said that, hey, they have SWAT tryouts this week. Cool, have fun. It's like, no, we're going to put in. Well, you mean you're going to put in? He goes, no, we're going to do it. We're putting in, so get your letter. It's like, yeah, we'll see. So I wrote my letter up and submitted it and went and did the tryouts, and we were the two that got picked, and just stayed ever since.
What was the training like to become a SWAT sniper?
It's a lot of long days. You have a 40-hour course and an 80-hour course, depending on which ones that you do, as far as the certification side of it. But it's a lot of time behind the rifle, a lot of long-range shooting. It's all about accuracy and patience, and building hides, being able to stalk and do different kinds of things like that. And then you continue that during your normal training days, where you have to get a 0 on your rifle every time you shoot it, and you have to know where your round's going to hit 100% of the time, all the time. And because for a SWAT sniper, it's all about that hostage situation. It's not like the military. You get one shot, and if you screw it up, then it's a bad day for everybody.
And what mindset does someone need to perform that job well?
You have to understand that they're making that decision and not you.
What was one of the most intense moments you experienced during your SWAT career?
Well, we've had a couple of them. We've had several different times where we've gotten shot at, and those were probably the most intense, other than the training stuff. But
what did it mean to you to become a SWAT commander?
I was proud of that, because I'd spent a long time on the teams, and I prided myself on working every aspect of the job inside of the teams to try to know everything that was going on in every position. But it goes back. It's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
So So even though it was something you accidentally got into, you liked it, you enjoyed it?
Well, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
The adrenaline rush.
As a detective sergeant over investigations and now deputy chief, how was your view of leadership changed?
I think it's changed a lot. I mean, your fundamentals stay the same as far as treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, tell them the truth when they ask you a question, and take responsibility for everything. In the leadership portion of it, it's your fault. If somebody else does it and you're in charge, it's still your fault, because you should have explained it better or said something different or guided them in a different direction. I think the elevation changes and the scope of being in charge of this little team to being in charge of a big team to now being in charge of a really big team, and you have a whole lot of people that you have to take care of and try to guide them and help keep them trained and everything else. So I mean, it's a different type of responsibility.
And what lessons from the Marine Corps guide your leadership today?
JJ did tie buckle. It was the core leadership values and whatnot. So just doing that, and then, you know, I like the if not me, then who, and that comes into play, I think, every day. Everything starts with you.
When you think about your father now, what do you think he would say about the career you've built?
I think he would say he's proud of me and don't screw it up.
Do you ever find yourself using advice or lessons he gave you when making decisions today?
Yeah, I try to think about a lot of that, but I had one, you know, I don't guess it's a decision, but he always had a saying, "This is ugly on my face, not stupid." And so I think I've used that line probably 1,000 times in this career when somebody's talking to me. It's like, man, you can lie all day long, do all this stuff, this is ugly on my face, not stupid. And it's like, oh, you got me. Okay.
What do you think your father would be most proud of in your life and career?
Probably that I've been able to keep it together for this long and not mess it up any more than I have. And that's pretty much where I'm at today. Hopefully I've gone further than what he expected.
And if he could see you serving as a deputy chief, what do you think that moment would mean to both of you?
I think it would be humbling, because he was a chief of police in 2 different places, and you know, everybody that I've ever talked to always looked up to him. And when it came to law enforcement or just the public in general, he was the one everybody wanted to talk to and get advice from and do all that. So just, I think, knowing that I've made a mark, hopefully, in some people's lives, that we're kind of on the same page.
Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you wish people knew about your story?
Nothing I can think of.
No. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Don't be stupid, and you know, make the right decision, and stand up for what you believe in, regardless of what anybody else thinks.
Would you encourage any teens or young people to join the military?
Every day.
Yes.
Yep. My daughter's in the Navy now, one of them.
Is there any advice that you would give to any young right now?
Depends on what kind of advice it is. As far as the military side of it, I'd recommend everybody to go to it. And like I said earlier, get that foothold and get that life experience before you get out here and go, because it'll be over before you know it.
What was your rank?
And
Military rank.
corporal.
Switch back over to Corporal Grady.
Was that the highest?
That I got, yeah.
And just in the military, or no? Is it the highest, like, in general?
Oh, no.
No?
Were you ever sent to like any Asian country?
Mm-mm.
No. Would you have loved to or like to go?
Yeah. I always wanted to go to Thailand and Japan, Philippines. Said Australia's pretty cool. The ports.